Hello again, YouTube land. As has often been said, and I'm sure will often be said again, there is not enough coffee in the world. Of course, today in part it's my fault. I forgot to eat breakfast again. So yeah, unfortunately, I've gone from relatively regular postings, meaning once a week, to odd, infrequent, once or twice a month postings, and I kind of know why, I kind of don't. I guess the better description would be I have vague suspicions about why. Oh, excuse me. Um, Obviously part of it is Rizzo being here, and it's not that he takes up all of my time, but it adds a new dimension to the things I have to schedule my day around. Although as he's only like 5 months old, but he's getting more and more used to going to the bathroom outside and letting me know when he needs to go out. We still have the safety spot where first thing in the morning before I get up he can go to if he really needs to go. Right now he's napping by my shoes near the front door. I don't know if he's trying to keep me in or trying to subtly encourage me or what. But today is the first day it hasn't been mind-numbing, soul-sucking, brain-busting, blood-boiling hot and muggy. You know, if you're outside, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, maybe, literally long enough to walk the dog up and down your block, and by coming back in the building at the end of that time frame, you break out in severe flop sweat, it's too fucking hot. I don't deal well with heat. I never have. I never will. And it's not as related to my weight as you might think. In part, I attribute my inability to deal with heat to the fact that I spent 2/3 of my life in Maine, where a heat wave is 80. And even then, I grew up in Portland, which is surrounded by a whole bunch of either Canadian air currents or Atlantic air currents. You know, so it's not going to get that muggy. It's not going to get that hot. Oh, iced coffee is good. The second cup of the day is even better. Another thing I attribute my inability of dealing with heat to is the fact that I do, yes, have health problems, but I'm not, again, I'm not specifically referring to my weight. I have structural issues. Feet, knees, back, neck. I don't handle physical activity well. So when you add heat to the already given strain my body feels under, it's exacerbatory, certainly. And then that's compounded by the fact that I am naturally asthmatic. And I say naturally because it's a condition I've had since birth, it's a condition my sister has, and it's a condition our mother had before she died, obviously. Now I know some of you might be stopping and thinking, wait, haven't we seen her smoking cigarettes on this? Yes, you have. Because prior to being killed by the emphysema, I lived in a house for 16 years, and prior to that, 10 months in the womb of a 2-pack-a-day smoker. Plus, there was all that marijuana use when I was in utero and out by my mother, and I admit in teenage years by me. I don't think pot should be something that's criminalized, but that's a separate posting. So suffice to say, from conception, I was predisposed and quite frankly predetermined to have breathing issues like asthma. So you take all of that, you throw it in a blender, and then you pour a whole bunch of fat sauce into it, and you get me. And I don't deal well with heat. So heat waves like these 90-degree days are just, fucking me over, dude. Bad. If I didn't know how violently unhealthy I get when I'm exposed to too much heat and humidity and such, if I didn't know that, I'd feel a lot worse using the air conditioners as much as I do. I would. But I told Sam years ago when we first started living together, I said, I worry because if I'm not working, I don't know how I'm going to deal with summer. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, I don't handle heat. I can't. I physically can't. I have to be in an air-cooled environment, whether it's significantly high-powered fans or, God willing, an air conditioner. I need to be in that kind of space because I can't breathe. I can't function in the heat. And it wasn't until, like the second summer we were together when I was really trying to make an effort to do the things he likes to do, which is, outdoorsy kind of things, going to the beach kind of things. And after a couple hours exposure, there were several times where I was on the verge of needing an ambulance because I suffered violent, rapid dehydration from exposure and sweating and such. And that's the point where he kind of went, all right, you know what? If you decide the weather is acceptable for you, we'll go do something outside. If not, as you're always telling me, there's plenty of stuff to clean in the house. Which is true. It's the only way it gets done is when you have justification to stay indoors. So snowstorms, opportunity to clean. Severe rain, hurricane weathers type stuff, opportunity to clean. And an opportunity to avoid watching all of the weather forecasting idiots on the TV news. I'm out here in a gale force wind. Why? That doesn't make you a thrill seeker. That makes you a moron. You're standing there reporting about how there are idiots trying to surf in the high tide of a frickin' hurricane. You're no smarter than they are. And, of course, extreme heat. Justification to stay in and clean. Admittedly, in the case of summer, it's a more expensive prospect to stay in and clean because, you've got the air conditioner running. But as I said, I don't especially give two shits. I mean, I do. I don't want to be costing us a lot of money, but I honestly can't function otherwise, so, tough. So I do as much as humanly possible to save dollars elsewhere. I try to be really careful about, what furniture we buy if we need it. I try to be really careful about kitchen supplies and stuff. And kitchen supplies, growing up as a writer, I'm still a writer, but growing up that way, I used to be the most atrocious hoarder of lined paper, binders, pens, pencils. I had more than one Trapper Keeper when I was in middle school because one was for my writing and one was for school and one was for my journal. Oh yeah, before the vlog, there was the MySpace journal. Before the MySpace journal, I had the kind that you get at like Barnes & Noble and Borders and all that. The ones that are like this thick, and I would cover them front and back of the page, journaling. I've always been that kind of writer. I've always been that word prolific. The strange thing is, when I was younger, I was really and forcibly taught that there is not as much wisdom in speaking as there is in listening, then speaking. So I really had a leg up on most people coming into my adulthood because I knew that for everything I could say, for everything I would say, for everything I quite frankly should say, none of it would make a damn bit of relevant difference if I didn't shut up long enough to know what I was going to say and why I was going to say it. So if you have a conversation with me in real life now, which a few of you who I know subscribe to this have, you understand the kind of quick turnaround, quick exchange, quick wittedness and wittiness that comes to my conversations. And it's not necessarily that I'm, naturally that way. It's that I have experience. I have practiced being that way. The unfortunate thing is that most of it was practiced in my imagination because I was severely antisocial for the better part of the last 18 years. I'm turning, yeah. Since I was like 8, 9, 10, I've had a serious, significant aversion to people. And it's a combination of things. I mean, part of it, yes, is self-reflective. Part of it is self-destructive. Part of it is genuine anti-socialism that's related to being bipolar, because I can't handle the rapid emotion exchange sometimes. But, now I'm an adult. Now I'm married. Now I have a home to take care of. I have pets to take care of. And beyond that, one of those pets is a canine, which means I have no choice but to repeatedly venture out every day and not only A, get exercise, but B, run into other people who also own dogs. And if you don't own a dog, or you never have, such as I was prior to Rizzo coming home, it's difficult to wrap your head around the fact that dog owners, or those who share their lives with dogs in the home, become that kind of community. I mean, it really becomes an instant pack experience. I live in an area of Queens, New York, where it is predominantly Spanish, Latin. I shouldn't say Spanish, it's Latin. I mean, there's Peruvian, there's Ecuadorian, there's Mexican, there's El Salvadoran, there's Cuban, there's all kinds of Latin in this neighborhood. And many of the owners of these dogs, you can hear them having these nice convivial conversations, sometimes arguments, in this rapid-fire, fluent Latin speech. And I've lived here long enough that I can pick up certain words, but a lot of it is really helped by the fact that I've always been a reader of people. So body language, body posture, tone of voice, pitch of voice, intensity of delivery, these are the contextual things that help me understand, regardless of what language I'm hearing someone else speak. But the thing of it is that whether they are or are not speaking a different language than me, meaning a language not American English, we smile at each other. People walking dogs will smile at each other. They will say hi. They will slow down long enough to let the dog say hi in the canine fashion of, sniff, jump, hi, how are you? And it's like it's a given, Like the owners have adapted themselves to figure out that they have to let the dogs do what dogs need to do in that kind of environment. I actually was out walking Rizzo the other morning, and there was another dog who we'd passed a day or two prior, an older dog walking with her parents, and we recognized each other because we have the same vet. That's where we saw each other, was outside the vet's office. And the dog's owner and I started talking, and she was telling me that, unfortunately the dog had some problems with fear, and a firework or something had gone off last night, and the dog had been quite afraid and was too scared to go outside and take a potty break. So it had been 12 hours since the dog had gone. But when Rizzo and I walked up, the dog seemed very happy. She seemed to like him. His puppy energy was infectious. And as he started to want me to walk down the block, which she, the older dog, had refused to leave. She wouldn't leave the block, the owner said. Well, as Rizzo and I started walking, this dog decided to follow us. So me, Rizzo, this other dog, her owner, and the owner's spouse all took a packed group walk for the next, like, 5 or 6 random blocks around, and the dog was able to relax and was able to go to the bathroom, and the owner was really happy. And when we got back to their building, which is actually only 1 street over from us, she said, "Well, thank you so much for being willing to walk with us. I was getting really worried because she wasn't leaving the block and she wasn't finding anywhere that smelled right that she wanted to go, and I guess your little guy's energy really kind of got her moving." And I said, "Sure, no problem at all, you know. I hope we'll run into you guys again and we can take another group walk. It's good for everybody, you know. I'm glad they get along." So that was good. And he was, you can tell the pack mentality, because he was concerned about this other dog. He kept looking back for his friend, like, "I'm going ahead, I'm having fun, I'm walking, wait, where'd she go?" And he would stop and turn around and sniff and wave his head at her. She'd come following up behind him, and off they'd go together. And until I became someone who lived with a dog, I couldn't wrap my head around that kind of social context mentality, that sort of situational, instant community kind of reaction. I mean, I kind of could, but I don't know. It's a different shade of flavor, strange as that sounds, from things like meeting up with fellow artists or fellow creative people or fellow physicians if you're a doctor. You know, it's not the same as like walking into a group and going, "Hey, some of my own people," you know. Dog people come in such a wide range and grouping that it's, "Hey, cutie." It's difficult to explain. And speaking of dogs, as you can see, I'm getting distracted by my own. And realizing it's now been almost another half hour and I still haven't eaten. Oh my god. Okay, and Sam's out late tonight like he was last night. I gotta figure out what the hell I'm gonna have. Okay. I'll go. I've rambled, I apologize. Hopefully it all made sense, and hopefully I'll be able to post shorter posts on a more frequent basis.